Gojoseon, the First Korean Kingdom. Long before the mighty armies of Goguryeo marched across the north, long before Silla's golden crowns and the elegance of Goryeo and Joseon, there was an ancient kingdom wrapped in myth, mystery, and the earliest sparks of Korean identity. This was Gojoseon, the First Korean Kingdom. The Legend of Dangun. Korean tradition says Gojoseon began in 2333 BCE, with one of the most iconic founding stories in East Asia. According to legend, Dangun Wangam, born from a heavenly prince named Hwanung and a bear woman transformed into a human, established the first Korean state. Whether historical or not, the myth matters because it shows how ancient Koreans viewed kingship. A ruler chosen by heaven. A kingdom tied to nature and sacred animals. And a shared origin story that unified later Korean dynasties. The historical kingdom emerges. Outside the myth, archaeology and early Chinese records suggest Gojoseon rose around the early 1st millennium BCE. It likely grew out of Bronze Age tribal confederations across northern Korea, southern Manchuria. Over time, these tribes formed a centralized state with a king, known as Wang. Social classes. Organized farming. Advanced bronze weaponry. By the 4th to 3rd century BCE, Gojoseon was strong enough to appear in Chinese chronicles like the Shurji. Life inside Gojoseon. This early kingdom created one of the oldest legal systems on the peninsula, the 8 prohibitions, strict laws against murder, theft, adultery, and violence. It marked the shift from clan customs to a true legal state. Culturally, Gojoseon thrived in the Bronze Age world. Intricately crafted bronze knives and daggers. Animal-shaped ornaments. Early walled towns. Rice and millet farming. People practiced shamanism, ancestor rituals, and seasonal festivals that would echo through thousands of years of Korean culture. Rivals, trade, and the rise of Wyman. By the 3rd century BCE, Gojoseon controlled major trade routes between China and the peninsula. This led to tension with the neighboring state of Yen. One dramatic turn came when Wyman, a Yen general fleeing north, sought refuge in Gojoseon. He was welcomed, but later overthrew the king and founded Wyman Joseon around 194 BCE. Despite the coup, Wyman Joseon is still considered part of Gojoseon's history, and under his rule the kingdom expanded its influence even further. The fall of Gojoseon, 108 BCE. Gojoseon's growing power alarmed the Han dynasty. In 109 to 108 BCE, the Han launched a massive invasion. After fierce battles, the kingdom fell, and the Han established several commanderies, the most famous being Lelong, which shaped the region for generations. But Gojoseon's story didn't end there. Its traditions and culture lived on through successor states like Bio, Goguryeo, Okjeo, and Dongye. Among them, Goguryeo would rise to dominate the later Three Kingdoms era, carrying Gojoseon's legacy forward. In the end, Gojoseon wasn't just the first kingdom. It was the birth of Korean political identity. The foundation of early law, culture, and religion. And the ancient origin story that lies at the heart of Korean civilization.
The Three Kingdoms of Korea. For nearly 7 centuries, the Korean peninsula stood divided between 3 rising powers, Goguryeo, Beech, and Silla. Their wars-shaped borders, their alliances altered empires, and their cultural achievements laid the foundation of Korea itself. This is the full story of their rise, their struggles, and the civilization they built together. Goguryeo, the Northern Giant. Our journey begins in the rugged mountains of Manchuria and northern Korea, where the ancient kingdom of Goguryeo emerged. Its founder, the legendary Jamung, was said to have been born from a mystical union between heaven and earth, destined for greatness from the first moment he drew breath. From these harsh landscapes, a warrior society was forged. Goguryeo grew strong because it had to. The land was unforgiving, steep ridges, frozen fields, dense forests. To survive, its people became skilled hunters, fierce riders, and disciplined fighters. This spirit flowed through the kingdom's veins, turning it into a military power capable of challenging the mightiest empires in Asia. Under kings like Gwanggaeto the Great, Goguryeo expanded deep into Manchuria, controlling rivers, mountains, and trade routes. Its armies were feared across the continent. When China's Sui dynasty launched massive invasions, once boasting nearly 1 million troops, Goguryeo resisted them all. Life within Goguryeo was hierarchical yet vibrant. Aristocrats from powerful clans held political authority and military leadership. Commoners farmed, crafted goods, hunted, and served in the army. War captives became slaves who worked on fortresses, irrigation, and state projects. Their society valued courage, loyalty, and physical endurance. Culturally, Goguryeo blended shamanistic beliefs with the spread of Buddhism. Bold murals inside ancient tombs show scenes of acrobatics, hunting, dancing, and mythical creatures. These paintings are among Korea's greatest artistic treasures, windows into the life, spirituality, and imagination of a kingdom shaped by the mountains.
Beach, the sophisticated maritime kingdom. Travel southwest along the rivers and open plains, and we arrive in Beach, a kingdom born from the same legendary lineage as Goguryeo. But Beach chose a different path. While Goguryeo looked northward toward war, Beach looked outward toward the sea. Founded by Onjo, Beach controlled fertile lands and coastal access that made it a center of trade and diplomacy. From its harbors, ships sailed to China and Japan, carrying goods, scholars, monks, and cultural ideas. Beach became a bridge of civilization in East Asia, respected not for its swords, but for its sophistication. Beach's ruling aristocracy valued elegance and refinement. Its cities grew into hubs of craftsmanship and learning. Buddhism thrived, shaping architecture, sculpture, literature, and rituals. Temples rose with beautifully curved roofs, statues of the Buddha were carved with soft, serene expressions, pottery and lacquerware displayed delicate artistry. Its political system blended monarchy with councils of noble families, creating a society where elite clans had strong influence. Markets bustled with merchants and artisans. Foreign envoys walked the streets. Beach was a kingdom where ideas flowed as freely as trade. One of Beach's greatest legacies was its impact on Japan. The kingdom sent scholars, monks, artisans, and architects across the sea, introducing writing systems, Buddhism, and advanced construction techniques. Early Japanese culture, including temple design, bears Beach's fingerprint. Society in Beach was stylish and expressive. Aristocrats wore layered silk robes, embroidered belts, and ornate jewelry. Music and poetry flourished. Festivals mixed local traditions with Buddhist ceremonies. Even in warfare, Beach relied more on agility and strategy than brute force, reflecting a kingdom guided by intellect and diplomacy.
Silla, the Golden Kingdom. Finally, in the far southeast, we reach Silla, a kingdom that began weaker than its rivals but eventually rose to unify most of the Korean peninsula. According to legend, Silla's first ruler was born from a golden egg, marking the kingdom as chosen by the heavens. Yet for centuries, Silla remained small and vulnerable. What it lacked in size, however, it made up for with organization. Silla developed the unique bone rank system, a strict social hierarchy that dictated everything from one's career to clothing. Although rigid, this system allowed Silla's rulers to consolidate power more effectively than Beach's noble families or Goguryeu's competing clans. Step by step, Silla transformed into a centralized and disciplined state. Among Silla's most iconic institutions was the Hwarang, elite youth warriors trained in martial arts, horseback riding, archery, poetry, music, and ethics. They lived by a spiritual and moral code that emphasized loyalty, courage, and righteousness. The Hwarang grew to symbolize not just military strength, but cultural refinement, blending warrior discipline with artistic soul. As Buddhism flourished in Silla, the kingdom became a center of religious art and architecture. Silla artisans crafted magnificent golden crowns decorated with tree-like ornaments symbolizing the connection between heaven and earth. Temples such as Hwangryongsa and, later, Bulguksa reflected Silla's spiritual ambition and technical mastery. Festivals filled Silla's cities with masked dances, shamanistic rituals, Buddhist celebrations, and communal feasts. Even commoners participated in seasonal ceremonies, forging a sense of unity within the kingdom. Its diplomacy was equally strategic. Forming an alliance with the Tang dynasty of China, Silla launched decisive campaigns against Beech and Goguryeo. In 660, Beech fell. In 668, Goguryeo collapsed. And for the first time, much of Korea stood under a single banner, unified Silla. The story of the three kingdoms is not simply a tale of war, it is the birth of a civilization. Goguryeo left behind its fortresses, murals, and a legacy of unmatched warrior spirit. Beech gifted East Asia with art, religion, architecture, and diplomacy. Silla bestowed unity, golden craftsmanship, and a flourishing of Buddhist culture. Together, they shaped the identity, traditions, and soul of Korea. Their rivalry carved nations, their alliances shaped empires, and their cultures, combined, laid the bedrock of an ancient and enduring civilization.
Korea after the Three Kingdoms. Unified Korea under Silla. When the smoke of centuries-long warfare finally cleared across the Korean peninsula, a new chapter began, one that would reshape the peninsula's identity, culture, and soul. This is the story of what came after the Three Kingdoms, a world of kings, monks, scholars, and ordinary people who quietly built one of the most refined civilizations in East Asian history. The birth of unified Silla, 668 to 935. After decades of conflict, Silla, with crucial military support from Tang China, succeeded in defeating Beech and Goguryeo, unifying most of the peninsula for the first time. This began a cultural flowering unlike anything Korea had seen before. A society reorganized. Unified Silla reorganized society around the bone rank system, a strict caste hierarchy shaping who could hold office and even what clothes citizens could wear. The aristocracy stood at the top, while farmers, craftsmen, and traders kept the kingdom alive. The Silla Golden Age. Unified Silla is remembered as a golden age. Gold crowns, temple bells, and mountain temples reflected a civilization of beauty. Buddhism became the heart of Silla's culture, brought back by monks who traveled to China and India. Wonhyo, one of Korea's greatest thinkers, taught that enlightenment came from compassion. The Hwarang, elite warrior youths, trained in poetry, dance, calligraphy, and combat, shaping the ideals of Korean identity. Life of the people. Most people were farmers living in wooden homes with thatched roofs. Rice, millet, and barley filled the fields. Early kimchi, barley porridge, and rice cakes filled their tables. Women of noble rank held notable influence, and some even became rulers. Decline of Silla. Over time the strict aristocratic structure caused social tension. Local lords grew powerful, peasants revolted, and Buddhism accumulated excessive wealth. By the 9th century Silla's authority weakened. The later Three Kingdoms, 892 to 936. Three new states emerged, later Goguryeo, later Beech, and the remnants of Silla. Warlords fought and alliances shifted, repeating the ancient pattern. But soon, a new leader would unite them once again.
The rise of Goryeo, 918 to 1392. Wang Jian, originally a general, took control of later Goguryeo, founded Goryeo, and reunited the peninsula. The name Korea originates from Goryeo. Culture under Goryeo. Goryeo blended Buddhist devotion with aristocratic refinement. This age witnessed the rise of Celadon pottery, Buddhist monasteries, and the creation of the Tripitaka Koreana, 80,000 wooden printing blocks preserved with astonishing precision. People and traditions. Villagers celebrated seasonal festivals rooted in shamanistic beliefs. The royal court held ceremonies with masks, dances, and music. Scholars pursued Confucian learning, shaping a more structured bureaucracy. Buddhism remained central to daily life, with temples serving as libraries, hospitals, and community centers. The stage is set for Joseon. By the late 14th century, Goryeo struggled with invasions, corruption, and religious excess. A new revolution was coming, one that would establish the Joseon dynasty, which would define Korean culture for centuries.
Joseon, the dynasty that re-engineered Korea. Long before modern Seoul rose from the banks of the Han River, Korea was shaped by a kingdom that ruled for more than 500 years, a dynasty built on scholarship, order, and an unwavering belief in harmony. This is the story of Joseon, the civilization that transformed Korea. The fall of Goryeo, the birth of a new era. By the late 1300s, the Goryeo kingdom was collapsing. Mongol invasions had burned villages and fields. Buddhist temples had grown wealthy and political. Nobles fought in endless cycles of corruption and rivalry. Ordinary people suffered under taxes, famine, and war. Into this chaos stepped General Lee Song-ji-hye, a brilliant commander who believed Korea needed a new beginning. In 1392, he seized power, ended the Goryeo dynasty, and founded a new one, Joseon. A new blueprint, Neo-Confucianism takes over. Joseon didn't just replace a king, it redesigned society from the ground up. Neo-Confucianism shaped family traditions, government systems, education, moral values, and social hierarchy. It taught that order, duty, and harmony were the foundation of a proper society. A hierarchy written in Confucian ink. 1. Yangban, the scholar official elite. 2. Chunjin, specialists like scribes, doctors, and translators. 3. Sangmin, farmers, craftsmen, laborers. 4. Chanmin, the lowest rank, including slaves. People could rise through exams, though the path was brutal. Foundations of the new kingdom. King Taejo reorganized land, strengthened the army, and built the capital at Hanyang. King Taejong centralized power and crushed corrupt factions. Joseon now had discipline and structure. Sejong the Great, the shining age of Joseon. During Sejong's rule, Korea became one of East Asia's most advanced nations.
Hangul, Korea's own alphabet. Sejong and his scholars created Hangul, simple, scientific, revolutionary. For the first time, common people could read and write their own language. A burst of knowledge. Sejong's era produced star charts, water clocks, rain gauges, medical texts, and navigation tools. Life in Joseon, people, culture, and traditions. Family and society. Everything revolved around family hierarchy and ancestor respect. Clothing. Hanbok defined Joseon fashion. Commoners, white cotton. Aristocrats, bright silk. Women, Jeogori and Chima. Men, Jeogori and Baji. Food and daily life. Kimchi evolved, rice and barley dominated meals, doenjang-flavored soups, and noble banquets had countless dishes. Religion and belief. Villages kept older traditions, shamans, guardian shrines, mountain rituals, while Buddhism survived as spiritual comfort. Women in Joseon. Life became more restricted for women, though noblewomen still managed estates and wrote poetry. Cultural achievements. Ink paintings, wooden palaces like Gyeongbokgung, and rigorous scholarship defined this refined civilization.
Japanese invasions, 1592 to 1598. It was an intense and powerful invasion, but Korea stood firm. Admiral Lee Sun-sin became a national hero. Peasant militias fought fiercely. Manchu invasions, 1620s, 1630s. Joseon survived but became a tributary state of the Qing. The long shadow of slavery, Confucian order's dark side. Up to a third of the population were slaves, nobi. Why so massive? 1. Hereditary slavery expanded naturally. 2. Nobles depended on slave labor. 3. Confucian hierarchy treated slavery as part of social order. Later Joseon, change and awakening. Silhak reformers pushed science and agriculture. Markets expanded. Village life strengthened. Art, music, and literature flourished. The end of Joseon, a world it could not stop. Foreign pressure, internal corruption, and rebellions weakened the dynasty. In 1897, Joseon became the Korean Empire. By 1910, Japan seized control. A 500-year dynasty had ended, but its traditions still shape Korea today.